I think at some point, like, you really have got to become self-aware and take all of the things that have happened to you, whether it be good or bad or, in between. You've got to listen to the echoes, the hot and cold game. Like, you're hot and you're cold, you're hot, you're cold. So you have to kind of navigate that and become self-aware and know that I felt good doing this.
Yeah.
So let me see what this is and then kind of listen to where that takes me to.
Welcome to Courageous Conversations with Lionheart Coaching Co. I'm your host, Mandy Woodard, and my goal with this podcast is to empower you to own your story and to live courageously in your relationships, with your goals, and any adventures you might go on, and especially in your healing and self-discovery journey. I want to show you what's possible through what I teach and share and through the stories of others. All right, my friend, let's get started. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. It is October 31st, 2023. This is our 44th episode. I feel like as I creep up to 50, I am wanting to do something exciting for that. So thank you for being here. Stay tuned. I actually have a lot of good interviews coming up that I cannot wait to share. This one included, today's included. And I also am I have been living in this higher vibration lately. I think I know what it is. I'm not fully ready to tell the whole story yet, though, here on the podcast, but it will come soon. I promise I'll tell it soon. But I've released some things. I've surrendered some things. I have moved into this deeper layer of my healing journey and what blocks I have, things that hold me back from being able to live out my true full potential. And I took a leap when I started the podcast, and I took a leap when I went into the office, but it's like, you'll hear Genesis and I talk about this actually today, is knowing when you're at your landing spot, and you might not ever be there. You might feel like you're good where you are, and that's great. But you also might feel like you just will always be on this forward-moving, growing train. And I know that I haven't quite landed. I haven't quite hit my landing place yet. But I had things that were blocking me, that were keeping me from being able to go the next step. I just needed to clear a couple things so I could go into the next phase of my journey here with Lionheart, with Courageous Conversations. So I have some incredible interviews lined up that have already taken place. Like, they're scheduled to be throughout this month and next. And well, I guess it's October 31st. I can't even believe that. First of all, happy Halloween if you're listening on the day that this goes live. And now it's November, and I'm just curious how many of you are about to put your Christmas trees up, because I am. I just got a new tree and I am all for it. If it makes you happy, put the damn thing up. Stop waiting and feeling like it's got to be a certain day. It can be whenever the hell you want it to be, okay? So put the tree up, put the decorations up, do whatever you got to do. I know I'm going to get some hate for saying that. But the other thing that I really want to say is one of the levels that one of the shifts that I've made have opened space for this incredible amount of inspiration and flow for an online workshop. So I'm hosting an online workshop. It's going to happen in the month of November and a little bit into December. And guess what? It's a beta test group. So absolutely free. You can join me for free. 3 live classes. All I ask for is feedback in return. And I just need feedback before I really fully launch this thing that I am really pouring my heart into. So if you think you'd like to do that, I would love to have you. Just go to lionheartcoachingco.com/beta-babes. Of course, I will put a link in the show notes, but all you have to do is fill out the form and I'll get you on the list, and you can join me in these 3 live sessions where we are just going to really dive in to energy And I'm going to talk a lot about meditation. If you've never meditated before, perfect. You're going to learn. And energy leaks. Where are you leaking your energy? What is draining your power from you that you need to call back in? We're going to do that. And then we are going to work on focus. Where focus goes, energy flows. Where are you putting your focus? Several years ago now, I had my first call with my life coach, and we did a strategy session where we were identifying if I was putting my energy in the right places and what was my ultimate goal. It wasn't monetary, to be honest with you. It was feeling good in the work that I was doing, coaching, sitting in my room because I have this little nook in my bedroom where I can look out and see these gorgeous trees, and just doing my purpose work. And I had a full circle moment this morning when I was sitting there editing this podcast, and I look out and the trees are gorgeous right now in Virginia. The yellows and greens and burgundies, all of them. It's so beautiful. And I just was like, wow, I'm doing it. I'm doing the work that I wanted to do. And it doesn't even matter. The dollar sign doesn't even matter. It's about what I'm doing. And that fuels me. It makes me feel so good and so alive. And money does matter. But for me, that's not what the measure of success was. And it's a goal that I'm after for sure, but it's just one piece of it. So I want you to join me so that you can have that moment and you can see where your energy is going and where you might need to shift and change focus. So there's that. Again, if you want to join me, lionheartcoachingco.com/beta, BETA -babes, BABES. Okay, let's get into today's interview. This is my friend Genesis. I've known her for a very long time. Her brother is a dear friend of mine. He's my tattoo artist. He's the one who has done all my tattoos, except for now I have a wonderful friend named Kate that works with him, and she's added to my collection, my little art collection that I have going on here. But Genesis also has this incredible artistic talent, and it has everything to do with music. But she hadn't been doing work that she loved until she had this massive awakening. And that's what we get to hear about today, is her wake-up call and how she transitioned into the work she's doing now, what she's doing now, and some of the lessons she learned along the way. I have to tell you, I enjoyed this conversation so much. I enjoyed listening back to it. I was laughing, giggling. I kind of laughed too because I feel like we have such similar voice tones that it was even hard for me to decipher who was who. So her words, she had so many profound things to say, and I really just was in awe of it and her journey and our conversations. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it. Here is my courageous conversation with Genesis Henry. How do you like to start your podcasts when you're interviewing somebody? What do you say?
I normally say, my name is Genesis. Thank you for joining me for Beyond the Boost.
I like that name.
Yeah, because my show is called The Midday Boost. So I was trying to think of something kind of clever, kind of cutesy.
Yeah.
And I literally thought about it for 4 weeks, and I was just like, Beyond the Boost. That's so stupid. Like, why didn't I think of that sooner?
Because you weren't meant to.
I guess not.
You weren't meant to know it yet.
Well, and it took me weeks and weeks and weeks. So I couldn't get past it because I was like, how am I supposed to launch a podcast if I don't even have the name? So I was kind of in my head, swimming around, trying to think of all this stuff. And finally, it just clicked.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's how it goes, though.
Yeah. I was literally on a thesaurus online, trying to think of different words for different things. I was Googling, what's another word for podcast? Just random goofy stuff. But I finally landed on it. So.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And so it's so funny because I tell all my guests, I'm really bad at starting these things. Sure. But we just start talking and then that's that. I do the intro. I record the intro after.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you've got your intro, you've got your outro. Mm-hmm. So you just kind of drop that in.
Well, I talk individually each time and do an introduction to you before. Oh. But hi, Genesis. Thank you so much for coming.
Of course. Of course.
I'm going to say this now because I've already told you, I think 2 or 3 times, but I'm excited. You're my first person to record in my office space.
Yeah, and I love it. It's a great space.
Yeah. Do you feel the vibe in here?
I do.
It's like
I do.
a good energy.
It is. It is. When I walked in, I was like, man, it really smells nice in here.
Does it?
Yeah. I walked in and I was like looking around and I was like, I mean, it's very, very earthy.
Ooh, that's what I'm going for.
It's very earthy, very centered, very, very still, very calm. I like it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
Okay.
you did good.
Oh, well, Richie did. My husband did all the heavy lifting, but
Hey, it counts. It counts.
counts.
You get points. You get points.
I picked it all.
Yeah.
I love that you're here. I want you to just, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about you and what you do and anything else that you feel is super relevant before we dive into our conversation.
Well, my name is Genesis Henry. I am a DJ and jack of all trades, really, at the radio station. I do social media. I have my show, obviously. I fill in for the news on occasion, so I do the news as well. I do a lot of computer work. I do music logs, the AM logs for commercial spots, and record commercials, and I literally do everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How long have you been there?
I started there in April of 2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you wanted to do that, though, long before you were there. I just only know that, though.
I've always getting down to like going through like a transitional phase and things like that. You really have to get to like what means the most to you. What are you really good at? Mm-hmm. What do you know about? And for me, it was always just music. I mean, that it landed
it's the
me.
Music piece.
Yes.
Okay.
That's where it kind of took me. And I was like, you know what? If I can just work around music, and it's literally like there's music playing all day.
Yeah.
And it just, buzzes through and it makes my day go so much faster.
Yeah.
And for me, it was always that connection to the music that I needed to have for myself.
I see. I didn't even know that was what pulled you there. And of course, it's the most obvious because the radio, you're going to put music out.
Right.
But I thought you liked just being able to is it a VJ? What's a VJ? That probably doesn't even sound appropriate anymore.
Yeah. Like a video.
Oh.
Video.
I'm thinking
jog.
Like old school MTV, like that's what they called themselves. But is it a video?
Yeah, that
versus,
would be V and disc for disc. D for disc.
Okay, yeah. I got it now.
But it's we don't
what
even
a
have
moment.
We don't even have discs anymore because everything is automated. Everything's on the computer.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
But I thought that's what you always wanted to do was be a DJ. See, I remember it had to have been, so long ago. Before you started your other job, you would ask questions on your Facebook to like get a conversation going. Do you remember that?
Sort of.
Dude, why do I remember that so much?
Well, I think it was just always just the music, and it was such a place for me that just felt so organic. Like when I was a kid, I would literally call the radio station incessantly and request songs. I just wanted that DJ to say my name on the radio so bad. Here's another request from Genesis and from Royal. Like that was literally like I remember doing that when I was a kid. I loved it.
I love it so much. Because I was going to ask that too. It's like, where did that show up when you were younger?
Yeah.
Because I feel like I've been doing stuff like this my whole life.
Yeah.
I have video footage from years ago where I would set the camera up and have my talk show.
I tried the TV thing.
You did?
In 7th grade. In 7th grade, we had that newscast at the school, and I was the weather girl. Which is crazy.
I don't remember that.
No? I think it was, I don't even remember what class I was taking. It might have been Miss Corker.
Oh.
It might have
loved her.
Yes. It might have been Miss Corker. I think she put that whole thing together. And I was like, well, let me just get in on this real fast. And they made me the weather girl.
And you didn't like that, though? No.
Well, the face for me, like, I'd rather you just hear my voice. I'm like,
you're so beautiful. I don't even want to hear that.
It's just so, I think it makes me feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
When people don't see my face. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is that's the thing I love about podcasting is you don't have to Like sometimes I'm sitting in my jammies.
Sure.
Recording.
Yeah.
But now podcasters are starting to put video up and record the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know if Joe Rogan started that or not.
I think he probably did. Like, he just, it's insane what he's done with podcasting. And
oh my gosh. And for all the people that are on his podcast, like
Yeah.
it's a whole nother world opens up for those people. It's crazy.
I know. Did you see, so into music, sidestep here from like your story, have you seen the guy
Oliver Anthony. I knew exactly who you were talking about immediately.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
That's incredible.
I mean, it was like an overnight blow up. An overnight blow up. It was bonkers.
And it's like, you do not have to like his music. You do not have to like Joe Rogan. But to look at the phenomenon of what happens there is just, it's mind blowing.
It really is. It's almost like it's morphed into like this just place of its own. Like it's something like you've reached the pinnacle at this point. Like it takes it and it grows by itself.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
Because I went to the Oliver Anthony's Spotify with Richie. We were on our way home and we were just talking about it. And I went to his account and it's like 15 million average listens. And I guarantee you that it wasn't anything close to that
No.
beforehand.
No. It took off.
Yeah.
It took off.
That is so crazy.
That was a great podcast, though. Did you listen to the podcast?
I didn't. I should.
It is. It's a very good podcast.
For being a podcaster, I'm not always the best at listening to other podcasts.
Well, you don't have to be. You don't have to be.
I do love some, though, because
Yeah.
I get so much out of them. And when you hear other people's stories, it's so inspiring, which is why I wanted to do this.
Sure.
So, okay, let's switch back to you because you started in 2021, but prior to that, you were working. You could totally say or not say what you were doing.
Well, I worked in a branch of law enforcement, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But whatever made you apply there to do that?
Well, I just wanted the stability, I
Yeah.
think, mostly.
Yeah.
Because it was brand new. It was, good pay, good benefits, retirement. And that's when you reach a certain age, you think to yourself, you really want the stability for yourself, for your kids, for your husband. You just want that steady paycheck. You want the health benefits. Those are things that you align with being successful. Like those are the things that you want.
Yeah.
Being, stable.
Okay, so you did the thing that would create that stability, but then as you're in there, you're like,
This is not what I envisioned.
right?
This is not it. This is not like fulfilling me. Like I don't want to have a desk job that's 9 to 5 and it's so sedentary. Like you're just in this little box. I mean, it's awful. You're in a cubicle.
Yeah.
And it's, I try to, gussy it up and put pictures of your kids, so you can see that all day. But I mean, at the end of the day, you just feel so blah.
Yeah.
Just so drained of anything resembling like what you actually envisioned your life being at that point.
And you did it for 5 years.
I did it for 5 years. Yeah, well, the paycheck was good.
Okay. So I get that though.
Yeah.
And there's not always an opportunity to do what you want that you can see anyway. Like
Right.
there always is opportunity everywhere.
Right.
But when you have to worry about your kids and a mortgage to pay and things like that, you got to do what's there.
Yeah.
And so I totally understand that.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
What did you do before you were
Everything.
you just bounced around?
I did. I did a lot of bouncing. I worked at the tattoo shop with Michael.
Okay.
I worked at Lowe's, and that is not an easy job.
Oh, I believe it.
Physically, that job is real hard.
Yeah. I could totally see that.
I mean, I lost like 20 pounds. It was crazy. If I could just have that job on the weekends, so maybe I could lose a little bit of weight, I probably would.
I do love going to Lowe's because I feel, this is going to sound so stupid. I think they're very knowledgeable people there. Most of them.
They are.
That I run into.
No, they really are.
They really help me with some.
Yeah. With projects and things. Yeah. And they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
It was actually a really fun job.
Yeah.
Because I liked the physical demand of it.
Okay.
Did
you talk to people a lot? Are you a people person or are you like a hermit?
I can be, and I think I used to be a lot more of a people person. Mm-hmm. But I'm not huge on small talk.
Oh, God, no.
I'm not huge on it. Like,
I hate it.
yeah, I mean, like, you want to talk about something? Let's
Let's
talk
talk.
about something.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't want to, you know, hey, how you been? You know, blah, blah, blah. Like that's cool.
I don't know if I've met a single person that does like small talk, though.
Really?
So many people tell me they hate small talk. And I'm like, then why do we have so much small talk happening everywhere?
Well, that was my next question.
Yeah.
It's always short, sweet, to the point, you know, yeah.
Yeah.
This, that, and the other. But
It's like we would go to the ballpark for the kids, like the football field when my oldest was little, and I'd be having to make a conversation with these parents, and I'd be, but tell me about your trauma. Like,
let's get into it. Let me help you.
and that was long before I was ever doing anything like I'm doing. I want to hear it.
Yeah.
I want to, whatever. But speaking about an in-depth conversation, like your shift was not a little thing. It was a big thing.
Oh, it was huge.
Yeah, I want to hear about it. So
Yeah.
you started at the radio in 21.
I started there. Well, I was unhappy. Of course, my mom had cancer.
Right.
The whole year of 2020. She actually broke her hip in December of 2019. So she was bedridden. And then she found out she had breast cancer probably 5 years before that. And it had metastasized into her bones at that point. So she broke her hip and she was bedridden for that whole year. And then she passed away in November of 2020. And that, for me, I think something like that happens to you. And you start to look at life different. You start to internalize, like, what am I really doing?
Yeah.
Like, this is not... Because looking at my mom's life, she had, a pretty good life. But everything she did out of necessity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, she didn't have any choice.
Right.
And for me, that was huge. Because I was like, do I really want to do that? Do I want to just do everything out of necessity? Because that's not what I wanted to do. And I really got to, like, just all that inner work. Like, what really makes me happy? What would make me the most fulfilled? And it just came back to music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did it happen, which I'm so sorry, by the way. I haven't got to see you to say that to you.
Yeah.
But I know how close you were with your mom.
Oh, for sure.
You guys were
sure.
super tight. And she was such a good grandma to her grandbabies.
Oh, yeah.
One thing I didn't say is the closeness that I was at one point with your family. I didn't mention that before, but your brother has been like a brother to me since we were teenagers.
Oh, for sure.
And then, of course, he married my best friend. So
Yeah. Well, that'll do it. That'll do it.
And he's covered me in tattoos.
Yeah.
I got to get him over here to chat. But I do know your mom was so...
Oh, yeah.
I did see that. I saw the love that she had for you guys.
Oh, for sure.
And I know what you mean. Like, she did a lot out of necessity.
Yeah. I mean, that was her whole life. She just did everything because she needed to.
Yeah.
It's not like she didn't have any, like, she didn't get to fulfill any of her passions. Like, she wanted to be an interior designer. Like, nobody knew that.
I did not know that.
But she loved it. You know what I mean? And that she never got a chance to do any of that. She was super creative. She loved to draw. She loved art. Like, and everybody just knew her because she worked at 7-Eleven and talked to everybody. You know what I mean?
Like, so it's like, her light was so bright in those places, though.
It really was. You couldn't. I bet my mom worked at Wendy's for a long time. She was the manager.
I do remember
and
that.
And she worked at 7-Eleven for a long time. And people still, they still ask about her. They still, you know what I mean? It's been 3 years since she passed away. People I see all the time, they're like, how's your mom? And of course I have to, get into that. But then, because they still remember the effect that she had on them just as a person.
Right.
It
makes sense that she had that artistic side, though, because music is a highly artistic thing.
Oh, yeah.
And even having an ear for it. I think that a lot of people, well, maybe not, I'm not going to speak for the masses, but you don't realize how many people, we need people to put the music out. We need people to have the ear for it too.
Oh, yeah.
That's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Michael being artistic. You guys definitely were destined for that.
Yeah.
And could you imagine if you didn't lean into that, though?
No.
So after she passed away, did you have this awakening or...
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Like, how did that transpire for you?
Well, it was probably, we were working from home because it was COVID anyway, and things were very stressful. Mm-hmm. And I think after she passed away, it was the day of her funeral, mm-hmm. and I had to send out, because I didn't want to take that much time off because I was trying to keep my mind busy. Mm-hmm. So that week, I sent out the paychecks via email. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting there and I'm dressed for my mom's funeral. And I'm sending out paycheck stubs.
Yeah.
And it took me like to this whole other place. Like, and I was so in my head at that point. I was just like, you know what? This is not.
Yeah.
This isn't it.
Wow.
I don't want to do this anymore.
You just had that jolt in that moment.
I did. It was a total shift.
And then how long did it take you to make a move?
Well, I was really looking, because I certainly didn't want to leave my husband in a lurch. You know,
right.
I'm not just going to quit my job.
Yeah.
So I, did a little bit of, silent digging and, looked around on, the normal Monster and, Indeed and this, that, and the other thing, just waiting for something to hit me.
Yeah.
And I was driving down John Marshall Highway and I looked over and I was like, I've almost completely forgot we had a radio, and it's right there.
Wow.
I mean, it was one of my presets before because I love the music.
Yeah.
But I clicked it on and I listened to it for a few days and I found the website and I looked online and it said, submit your resume. And I was like, these people are going to be crazy if they hire me. But if they're going to be,
did not say that about yourself.
I did, but they're going to be even crazier if they don't, because this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like, this is it for me.
Like,
I just kind of had that. Yeah.
Gosh, I love that.
Yeah.
So did they reply to you right away, or?
He did. Yeah. And we had an over the phone. Of course, it was, through COVID and all that stuff. But
yeah.
We had an over the phone interview. And I went in and I had the face-to-face interview with the business manager, because the owner of the radio station actually lives in Delaware.
Yeah.
So I went in and I talked to the business manager, and they didn't hire me.
Oh.
No. And he sent me an email back, and I was devastated.
Yeah.
I was completely devastated. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do now. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because
where
else
do I even go?
Yeah. Where else would I go? What else would I do? And my mother-in-law looked at me and she said, just email him back and ask him why. So I did. I emailed him back and I said, thank you for your, consideration.
Yeah.
May I ask you why? He said, you know what? Why don't you come in and do a voice test? Come back in. And we'll take a listen. I went in, I did the voice test. I apparently passed the voice test. And
you do have a lovely voice.
Thank you. And here we are.
I love that she said that to you.
Yeah.
And it's a very her thing to say. I could very much hear her saying that to you, Missy, saying that to you.
Just ask him why.
Just ask him why. She always has had that kind of a mindset.
For sure. So I did, and then here we are.
I love that you even listen, because you know what? It would be really easy to say, no, I'm not going to do that. I might look like a fool, or well, what would they say back? You know, like we do these things, we play these stories in our mind, and then we hold ourselves back from these moments. But you were just like, screw it, I will.
Yeah. I was like, if I don't take the chance now, like when am I going to have another chance at this?
Yeah.
And what's it going to hurt? They already told me no.
Yeah.
So I just asked them why.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So you went in and did the voice test and they fell in love with you, I'm guessing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it took a couple of weeks. I'm more of a slow burn.
I love that. I do think you have a great voice, and I think that's super important.
Well, I mean, you have to be able, obviously you have to be articulate. You have to be able to, have good enunciation for your words and things like that, because you don't want to mumble.
Right.
When you're on the air, people need to hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and sometimes if someone's pitch is like really off, it's harder to listen.
Yeah.
So you're on 95.3, right? Mm-hmm. And they still play oldies?
Well, it's more classic hits.
Okay.
So every once in a while, you'll hear like a King Harvest or, something like that, like Dancing in the Moonlight. You know that song?
You said it. Did you see the blank look on my face?
Yeah.
I do know that song.
You know that song.
I didn't know the artist.
Yeah. Well, they'll play like stuff like that. Like that'll work its way in there. But it's mostly like the best hits that have ever been the best hits.
Right.
Like, so it's everything from 70s, 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
And I've worked in some stuff from the 2000s, like, because
we're getting there, huh?
Whether you want to admit it or not, 2003 was 20 years ago, which then...
I do know that because, that's the year Richie and I started dating.
Oh my God, really?
And now all I can think of is, holy shit, we're hitting 20 years.
20 years, yeah. Yeah. That'll do it to you.
So that's awesome, though. What's funny is, how this can tie together for the two of us is it's just, man, the universe is funny sometimes.
It is.
So in my kitchen of the house I grew up in, we had a radio that mounted from the cabinets.
I love those.
Do you remember those?
I love those, yes.
And 95.3 is what always played.
Really?
Always played. And so I would open that cabinet door and set the camcorder up inside it and play the radio and dance and then do my cooking talk show.
Really?
I accidentally recorded over some of that, though.
Did you?
Because I was doing it so much. I was like, who cares? I'll just erase this. But now I'm like, man, I wish I had that specific day that I did record that. But I listened to that and danced around that kitchen all the time to that.
What a full circle
So
moment.
like both our little worlds just intertwining there is so funny.
That is funny. I love that though. I love that.
Yeah, I always love that station. And I guess if somebody's listening far away, they probably can't hear it. Or can they?
They can. They can hear it online.
Oh, because there's no bounds anymore.
Nope. Everything you can live stream the radio station from our website. You just hit listen live and boom.
That's so cool. So tell me about your what did you call it? A midday boost?
The midday boost, yeah.
Ooh, what do you talk about?
Mostly things going on in the area. We like to keep it very local. Events happening, conversations that, some of my other coworkers have had. We do like a newsmaker segment. So there's lots of things going on in the area. If it's, relevant to or close to the time of, I'll kind of push that a little bit.
Yeah.
And we do all the high school sports, high school football and stuff like that. So I like to promote that a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I like to know where artists, like where names for songs came from and where the inspiration for the song came from. So when I find that out, I just kind of do a little digging, a little research. And then before a song, I'll say, well, this artist, got this from riding on the tour bus and yada yada, and it came to him in a dream or, something like that. So I like to keep it formatted at that.
Cannot tell you how much I love that you do that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to make sure I tune in and listen when you're on. You need to tell me exactly what time.
Oh, it's usually 12 something.
Okay.
Because I'm on right after the talk shows. We do two talk shows at 12. And then I'm on right after that.
Okay, that's my lunch period that I block off. So I'm going to make sure I cut it on. But I love to know the story behind songs.
Do you remember VH1 Behind the Music?
Yes.
That was literally my favorite. That was my favorite.
I believe it.
I loved it.
I watched it all the time too.
Yeah.
And then, are you familiar with the Avett Brothers?
I feel like I should be.
Well, they are. You should look them up. I'll say that. I don't know if they would. They don't really have. Well, they do have some music that came out in the mid 2000s, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe a little earlier, and it's good songs, but they weren't. I don't think they were hits. They were putting them on YouTube to start.
Oh, sure.
But I used to watch their YouTube channel the entire time I would edit pictures when I was doing photography. Yeah. Because they would discuss their process.
Where it came from.
Yeah. So in 2017, they had a documentary come out, and I don't say his name right, but Judd Apatow.
Judd Apatow.
Yes. I knew I was going to say it wrong.
That's fine.
And he followed them through their entire last album that they created, and to watch them go through the process of starting to write the song to then molding it to what they want and then to put it out was just I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's such a creative process, and I love seeing that part and seeing because you want to know where it came from. What part of that person made this beautiful music. Yeah. Because I feel like I've always liked that. Just always getting into the meat and really where did this come from? What happened to you? What made you think of this? Was it a a stormy day in downtown Texas, like, tell me about it,
Yeah. Was that the storyline for George Strait?
I have no idea.
Or not George Strait,
sounded good.
Garth Brooks. What's that song?
All the Thunder Rolls.
Yes.
Very well could have been, yeah.
I didn't know if you maybe just had that in your back pocket.
It just came
But see,
straight to my head.
Now listen, this is where I love the process, and I just journaled this last week, talking about the process of all of us.
Oh, yeah.
It's an art. Like, we want to hurry up and get to the thing. We want to hit the goal.
Yeah.
But it's so cheesy to say it's not about the destination, it's the journey, but it's the truth.
No,
like,
it is.
You're
it's
literally crafting and designing your life in such a way. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what you're doing.
Yeah.
Every little piece. And I love that process. That's why I like having these conversations, because it's like, how did you get there? What was your process? What did that look like? What was your childhood like? Like,
tell me all about it.
Tell me all the things. Yeah.
Everybody, I think at some point, like, you really have got to become self-aware and take all of the things that have happened to you, whether it be good or bad or, in between. You've got to listen to the echoes. Like, you'll be able to hear it come in, the hot and cold game. Like, you're hot and you're cold, you're hot, you're cold. So you have to kind of navigate that and become self-aware and know that I felt good doing this.
Yeah.
So let me see what this is, and then kind of listen to where that takes me to. So you do this thing for a little bit, and you think, oh, well, that's nice. What was it from here? And kind of dissect that and be like, oh, okay, well, this is what it actually was. So you kind of just have to follow and listen and just be so aware of yourself.
Yeah.
I think that has a lot to do with finding what you're really meant to do.
I love that. That was such a good...
Yeah.
That's like I cut that and put that in the beginning. That's what that was. I have another question for you. Okay. And I don't know, maybe you don't want to answer it, but do you see yourself, like, what's your ultimate goal with radio?
This is it.
You're good here.
I'm good here.
You feel so good.
I feel good here.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like you have this, it's like, does it feel like home?
Yeah.
That's what I'm picking up is it's like, it's home. You feel like home.
I was there probably, and my husband thought I was completely nuts.
Did he?
No, he thought
Tell us all about that.
Well, he thought I was nuts because I had gotten the job to work there, and it wasn't immediately a DJ gig.
Okay.
So I'm there for probably 6 months, 7 months. And at the end of every year, my boss has us write like wish lists. And on my wish list, I wrote, I want my own show. And I told Jesse, and he was like, you're nuts. Did you really say that to him? And I was like, what can it hurt?
I'm so glad you did.
What could it possibly hurt? Like, what's the worst he could say? No. That's it. I still have a job. It's nothing hurt, no harm, no foul. And then so I did it, and he was like, here you go.
First of all, claps for your boss to even to say for people to do that. That is such a good leadership. That's such a sign of good leadership.
Oh, yeah.
So that's awesome. And you are this whole conversation, I feel like one of my biggest takeaways is that it doesn't hurt to ask.
It doesn't.
That's now twice that's happened for you.
Yeah.
And then you've gotten what you were hoping for.
Yeah. Isn't that nuts?
I love it. It doesn't hurt to ask. Just ask.
Yeah. I mean, what can it possibly hurt? What's the worst they could say? No.
Okay,
all right, then.
You're right back where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because we get told no, and it can be so...
it can be devastating. Because you feel like you're not worthy. You feel like you're not, you're not working hard enough. You're not... But what difference does it make?
Right.
It's just no.
Oh, my gosh. Do you know what? I got to tell you this story. I watched this movie. I got to think of the name of it. Richie had cut it on, so I don't know the name of it. It's about this kid who they were migrants. He picked fruits, corn, all the things in the field with his parents growing up. And they were constantly moving around wherever they were needed for harvest. But he wanted to be an astronaut so bad. That's what he wanted to do growing up. This is a true story. It's
got to be. It's got all the feel of somebody really did this.
They really did this.
They really
I
did
was
this.
crying like a baby. It's such a good inspirational movie, though. But and I hate to be, I'll just say spoiler alert. And I think it's obvious. It's a true story, so you could know the results anyway.
Yeah.
But he applied to NASA for the space program 12 years in a row before he was finally accepted. And the last year that he went, his wife was like, "You're not mailing this in. You're going to walk into NASA and hand them your application."
Yeah.
And so, because they said, what's the worst is going to happen? You're going to deny me again.
Yeah.
I'm just going to apply again next year.
Yeah.
He was the first Hispanic to go into space for the United States.
Wow.
Yeah. And he was the son of a migrant worker. And he also did when he was young. So he had a teacher that stopped his parents one day when they were leaving to go to the next harvest. She's like, "Could you just stay? Could you just not go anymore? Because you have a very brilliant child. And if he doesn't get to go to school, like, it's going to take so much away from him."
Right.
And they had been trying to save to buy a house. And ultimately, his parents decided to sacrifice the house that they wanted to buy. And they stayed in their trailer, in their double wide, and put their kid through school.
Yeah.
And that's what happened as a result.
That is amazing.
And I was like, after I watch a movie, talking about the process of everything, I'll be watching a movie and then I Google the person afterwards. And I want to hear their entire life story.
Same.
But I was too tired to Google it the other night. But I wanted to know, like, did he buy his parents a house? Like, what did he do?
I feel like he probably did.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have to be, like, once you found out that what the kind of sacrifices that your parents made for you, that,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you pay it back.
Yeah. I hope he did.
I hope he did.
We got to Google it.
Yeah.
And I got to figure out the name of the movie. I don't even know that. It's like $1 Million Dream or something like that.
Huh. I'm definitely going to have to Google that. What did you watch it on? Was it Prime?
No. I'll have to ask Richie.
Yeah.
I'll message it to you. Yeah. I'll put it in the show notes too if anybody wants to watch it. But it's a really good movie because so he's talking about like the recipe of life, and one is have a goal. How are you going to get there? You think you're there, try harder because you're probably not.
Right.
Like, you got to work hard.
Right.
It's a really good movie. But it's the reason why I brought it up is 12 years in a row, this guy.
Yeah.
And
it didn't care.
And he kept going. You got to just keep going.
Yeah.
So I love that you love where you are and what you're doing, because I feel like that is the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
It's just to love what you're doing.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'll end. I like it in here. It's pretty good in here. But I'm like, where do I go next? I don't know. I think you know when you're there, right?
I feel like you do.
Yeah.
I feel like you definitely do.
And we haven't even talked about your babes yet.
No, my babes are, half grown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how awesome for them to be able to see their mama
doing, yeah. And that's really, really all I wanted.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, just to, so I don't have any formal college education. I don't have anything, but I know how to work hard. I know how to read.
Yeah.
And I know how to put my best foot forward and get what I want.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much.
Yeah.
I feel like this was a really good conversation today.
Yeah.
But I've got to ask you my question that I ask everybody.
Okay.
What's your big piece of golden advice that you would give somebody, anybody?
Can't hurt to ask.
Yeah.
It can't hurt to ask.
Yeah.
No matter what. I mean, if that's what you know that you want.
Yeah.
If you ask, they say no big deal. You can find another way to get there. You can, just keep moving. And what would you say to somebody who's letting the no get to them a little too much? I would probably do a little reevaluating.
Yeah.
If the no is really, getting you down, maybe reevaluate. Maybe take a step back. Maybe you're only halfway to where you need to be.
Yeah.
You
got some growing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just not your time yet.
Which is true, man.
You have to be ready for these things to happen in your life, whether it's emotionally or physically or spiritually. Like, you have got to be ready within yourself to take it on, because once you get what you want, ultimately you've got to stay there.
Yeah. Well, I really love that you just said that, because I do tell myself that a lot. Like, would you even have the capacity to hold the space. I wouldn't have had the capacity to hold space for people the way that I hold space for people now. However many years ago, 5 years ago when I first started, so 17, so 6 years ago is when I started the show. And I really wanted to be a life coach or a motivational speaker. I wasn't even sure. I didn't even know life coaching was a job, to be honest with you.
I had no idea it was a thing.
I didn't either.
No, I thought it was, I thought it was like excuse my terminology, but like a bougie thing. Like, you've just got so much money, you need a life coach. Like, I thought it was like you know what I mean?
Yes,
like,
I do.
I thought that's,
yes, I do.
I kind of, because you saw it in movies like a handful of times, like,
right.
This woman hired a life coach because her life's a mess. But I don't think that's not what you do.
Right.
That's not it.
Yeah, it's not.
No.
We do so much. And honestly, it's funny how things transform. I'm kind of sidestepping here, but I do the energy healing, and it's so much more of that. And then coaching kind of does come into play.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of layers to that. But we're doing so much healing on an energetic level.
Well, yeah. I mean, once you get into that good space, you have got to have good reinforcement to stay in that place.
Right.
I mean, you can't just, get to your good space and then 6 weeks later, you're right back where you started from. If you don't have the right navigation, like if you don't have the right compass, you're not going anywhere.
Or you haven't filled your foundation up.
Right.
That's the thing. I do talk about that a lot with my clients is like, we got to get your foundation steady before you start building this massive building on top of it. Or it's just going to sink into the sand or whatever it is, whatever metaphor you want to use.
For sure.
But 6 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to do what I'm doing now. I needed to have the lessons that I had in that time period. 100%. As a mom, as a wife, just as a business owner, I needed to be able to experience those things.
100%.
And we think that we should already be at the thing, but there's just so much we still need to learn before we can get there.
Well, there's layers to everything.
Yeah.
And especially to people.
Yes, for sure.
So if you're not there yet, then maybe it's just not your time yet.
Thank you for that. And now, okay, to finish us off, I want to hear, so we can go to, what's your website?
TheRiver953.com.
Okay. I love that. I do love that it's called The River. And then your podcast, you say, is probably going to launch in January, right? Okay.
I would say, full launch in January.
And it's called
Beyond the Boost.
Beyond the Boost. So I love that. Make sure everybody, and I'll be on there with her. She did interview me. It was
we did.
So fun.
Yours is going to be the first one I roll out.
Oh my gosh. First of all, I'm honored. And second of all, I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Well, I cannot wait to hear it and shout you out. And I'm honestly, genuinely so proud and excited for you.
Thank you.
Whenever I saw that you were at the radio, I was like, yes.
Yeah.
You maybe said it one time or there was one post on Facebook, and I'm talking like 10 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I've always, it's just always been there.
Yeah.
You just have to listen.
Yeah. Well, I never forgot it. And I was like, I just was so thrilled to death when I saw you were there. Good for you for following your passion and your heart. And
thank you.
What was going to light you up.
You too.
Thank you, love.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, this was so awesome. Yeah. Thanks for coming.
For sure.
All right. I hope you enjoyed our conversation today. I'm going to share a few of my takeaways from this. 1, you got to listen to the echoes. You got to see where you need to be self-aware and check in with yourself. Does it feel good here? No. Okay, let me go this way. And then also pick apart each thing, because maybe you like a little bit of something in one place and you bring that into your next space. Life is about creating a masterpiece, a piece of art. Don't be afraid to lean into what it is that fuels your fire. And that leads me into the second takeaway, which is it doesn't hurt to ask. The worst that can happen is you're going to hear the word no. And I love how Genesis said, if you keep hearing no, then maybe you need to take a step back and reflect on some things, because it might not be your time yet. And that's okay. Another takeaway I had was listening to her share about the loss of her mother and how it just ignited this flame inside of her to say, this ain't it. This ain't it. This is not what I want to do. It's such a beautiful gift that she was able to have that and then move into what really truly lights her up and she loves and does so well. To really be able to hear music and know what people want to hear on the radio, and even to go as far as diving in and finding the stories. What a beautiful testimony. What a beautiful story that she has. All right, those were my big takeaways. Listen, if you liked this episode, it would mean so much to me if you shared it. It will allow me to keep doing what I'm doing. So go ahead and hit that share button. And if you're not already subscribed, be sure to subscribe, whether it's on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts from. And if you want to give me a little shout out on Instagram, my handle is at Lionheart Coaching Co. I would love it so much. And same thing for Genesis. If you want to find her, you can go to her website, which I will also link below, and listen to her show and check out her podcast when it comes out in January. I'm really excited about that, Beyond the Boost. And remember, if you want to join me on the 3-week workshop in November, it's November 17th, 30th, and December 7th. I will be recording each session, so if you can't make it live, you can always watch playback. I would really love to have you there. I would love the feedback, and I also just know that it is going to be incredibly powerful. And when we have that energy, that high vibration, that we can just sit and be in with other people who are in that space, it raises us up. A rising tide lifts all ships. So I hope you will join me. Go to lionheartcoachingco.com/beta-babes, and I will see you there. And until next time, please remember, you are loved, you are valued, and you are appreciated. Bye now.